All right, so we're all good to go there. So yes, welcome everyone to this installment of the WordPress editor training. My name is Avery Yoon, and I am a graphic and web designer at the Student Affairs Communications team. Let me know. I think I should still be sharing my screen, but let me know otherwise. So before we get started, you're here because your website is managed and overseen by the Student Affairs Communications department. The website is using or is actively transitioning to the Student Affairs Communications WordPress template, and you are currently an editor or will soon be an editor on these websites. So for today, we're going to talk about the goals of web maintenance, your responsibilities as an editor. I'll share some resources with you that I will also share with you after this through an email. Then we will talk about web accessibility. I will give you a demo on how to navigate this template, and then we'll have some time for Q&A, but I'll also pause every once in a while if you guys have questions about the specific section we're on. So first is the goals of web maintenance. So the first one is to meet accessibility, usability, and security standards, making sure that it adheres to the campus and divisional editorial style guide and brand standards. So the editorial style guide is how things are written. The next is that it is free from broken links or logic loops. And lastly, displays the most up-to-date information and ensures that all changes are documented. Changes about your programming are documented on your website. So here are the resources available to you. The first is the WordPress user guide for editors, which I shared with you before this training, and which is what this training is heavily based around. The next is Accessibility Essentials for Communicators, which is a document from the Public Affairs Office on how to implement web accessibility practices onto our websites. The next is the editorial guide, which again is how things are written within the division. And the last is the small scope Student Affairs Communications project request form, which is a bit of a mouthful, but this is for any of those changes on your websites that you are not able to make yourself as an editor. So now I'll jump into your responsibilities as an editor. So I found that it is most helpful to look at this visually with an example. So of this example page on the recreational sports website, you are responsible for everything in this highlighted area in the middle. Most likely, if anything you want to change is outside of this space, that is when you'll submit a ticket. So in writing, this means that you're responsible for content or text changes, in-content images and PDFs, accordions, and I'll show you what that looks like later, event and staff posts, maintaining content web accessibility, and maintaining template styles. And again, for everything else, submit a request. And then before I go into web accessibility, just a quick note on policy and legal language. Please do not remove any policy-related or legal-related language from your site unless instructed by whoever owns that language. So on to web accessibility. Why is it important? Especially at a university, it is important that everyone has the information they need. So this means equal access and equal opportunity to folks with diverse abilities. Ensures that our sites are designed and developed so that folks with disabilities can use them. When we're implementing web accessibility, we're encompassing all disabilities that affect access to the web, but most of the strategies you're expected to implement are for folks who have visual impairments. And the last is that it also benefits people without disabilities and for what we call situational limitations. So for example, if you're outside on a sunny day and you're trying to read something on your phone, if something's built with web accessibility in mind, it is more likely that it'll be easier for you to read it while you're trying to look at it while it's super bright out. And it's very important on campus because it's a federal law and university policy. So I'm going to read this really quick, bear with me. Since 2013, UC Berkeley accessibility policy has required our web pages to comply with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, version 2.0 at level AA. This is redundant with federal law, which is the same as required by Section 504. And this isn't theoretical. In the past decade, UC Berkeley has been subject to legal action over web inaccessibility twice. And this comes from Zed Lopez from the Public Affairs Office. So this shows you that these steps are not just, we don't just do them for fun. There are consequences to maintaining web accessibility on our campus websites. So quickly, I will go over best practices. of how to practice web accessibility on your site. The first is to include proper alt text, which is alternative text for images, and I will show you how to do that in the demo. The short of it is be descriptive but succinct. So if it's just an image, then describe it. If the image has text on it, please have the text, if it's short enough, in the alternative text. If it's longer text, then like a paragraph, then it needs to be brought out of the alternative text and onto the page. Then the last is if the image that has a link or it's linking to somewhere, indicate where that link is going in the alternative text. The next is to give your links unique and descriptive names. So this means avoiding uninformative phrases like click here, hear more, read more, etc. So there's an example below. The wrong way to do it is click here to apply for FAFSA. Click here is not helping anyone figure out where that link is going. And a better way to do it would be to apply, submit the FAFSA application. And so this is important because folks who have visual impairments use something called a screen reader. And from what I understand, the screen reader will pull or read the page to them, read the web page to them, and it will be jumping from each kind of actionable thing on that page. And usually that actionable thing is a link. And so it'll read out whatever that link text is to the person so that they can figure out if they want to click on it. And if everything says click here, that's not going to help them figure out if they want to follow that link to whatever resource you're trying to help them get to. The next is fairly simple, is when you have links, indicate if they are a PDF file, and that's as simple as adding a parentheses PDF to the end of the link text. Next is using the heading formatting in order. So I'll show you what headings are later on, but pretty much you want to make sure that it goes in sequence. So if something is a subsection, something is a subsection of heading 2, then it needs to have the heading 3. It's important to have these in order because, again, with those screen readers, it will be pulling up an outline of your page using how these headings are in order. So if you're using headings out of order, this outline will be out of order, which will be inaccurately representing the page to the person who's using the screen reader. The next is to make sure you're using tables for tabular data and not formatting. So there's an example of tabular data right there. There's a clear X and Y and the data that goes in between it. And again, I shared these resources in the previous slide, but these are the ones specifically for web accessibility. And if you want to learn more about web accessibility and how it fits within the UC system and also within campus, here are some links for you. We have a group on campus called Web Access, who are our web accessibility experts who have a lot of helpful resources, such as an overview of web accessibility in the UC system and also an explanation of how you're responsible for web accessibility on your websites. All right, so with all that, we'll get to the meat of the presentation, which is the demo. So in this demo, excuse me, I'll show you how to log in, edit your content, use the WYSIWYG, which is short for what you see is what you get, and is how you're going to be formatting the content on your pages. This WYSIWYG is very similar to how you edit your content on your emails or in Word docs. I'll walk you through some best practices with formatting. Then I'll talk about inserting images and hyperlinks, adding what are called announcements, accordions, editing events and staff posts, and then how to see the revisions. So let me switch screens. All right. So let's see. Stop me if you guys are not seeing the Cal1 card being pulled up on this page. Okay. So in order to log in on your website, you'll go up to the address bar, and at the end of it, you'll tack on a /SA-login. So SA for Student Affairs. And it'll bring you to this login page right here. You will get your credentials from your Student Affairs contact or whoever is working on your website, or you should have gotten it already. So I'm going to log into an editor account so that you guys have a preview of what you're going to be working with. So give me one moment. Okay, and then once you're logged in, it'll bring you to what's called the dashboard. There's a lot going on right here, but you pretty much ignore all of that and pay attention to what's in the sidebar menu. So in the sidebar menu, you have posts, events, materialize accordions, media, which is your images and documents, pages, staff, essential grid post or ESS grid post, and your profile. So when you want to edit a page, there are two ways to get there. The first one is through this pages route in the dashboard. So you click pages and all of your pages will show up here. If you don't see it or it gets cut off because you guys have too many pages on your site, you can use the search pages tool on the top right. So I'm going to look for the page I want to edit. And it brings it up right here. So once your search results come up, you can hover over the page title of the page you want to edit, and some options will appear below. And of those options, you want to click edit, and it will bring you to the page editor. The second way of getting to a page or to edit a page is to be on the page already. So let's see, card. Let's see, yeah, editor demo. And then when you're logged in, there will be this black bar up at the top with your name and a couple of options. Of those options, you will click edit page and it'll bring you to the same editor. So within this editor, you have a few components. In the middle here, you have the WYSIWYG where you will be doing all of your content edits. There are two ways to look at this WYSIWYG. There's the visual, which is as close as WordPress can get to how it will be presented on your page ultimately. And there's also the text option, and you'll toggle those using these tabs on the right side. This is the HTML code, and for the most part, you guys don't need to worry about that. Over on the right side, you have your publishing options. So the two things to look at here are the preview button. So when you are making your changes and you want to see how they're turning out, but you're not ready to publish it to the world, you can click preview. You'll open it up in another tab and you can see your changes reflected here. And then once you're all good to go with your edits, you click the update button. And yes, I will stop there. All right, on to the tools you can use. So all of your tools are in this toolbar right here. And the first item is this drop-down menu, which is where you have your headings, which I talked about when I was talking about web accessibility. When you're working on this template, you will always start at heading 2 because heading 1 is reserved for the title and it's automatically added. WordPress will automatically add it for you. So the purpose of headings is, like I said, to kind of break up the content and indicate the sections without like adding too much like graphic elements to it. And so in order to apply these headings, you'll highlight the text you want to edit or you want to apply the heading to, click the drop down and click the heading you want to add. So let's say we have this larger section housing and we have 2 subsections, undergraduate and graduate. The housing heading would be heading 2, which means that the undergraduate and graduate titles would be heading 3. So select that, heading 3 and preview, and we can see how those have changed. The next item, I will go next items in the toolbar. We'll have the bold and italics. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with these already. My only note for this is please use these sparingly. Just keep in mind when you're making something bold and italic, that means you're indicating that it is important. So if you're saying, if everything is bold and italic, you're saying that everything is important and therefore nothing is important. Moving along, you'll be familiar with the bulleted list and numbered list, and then the alignments. So I'd recommend keeping everything left aligned as much as you can. So hopefully you're not working with these too often. The next icons are for links. So the first one looks like a chain link is for inserting and editing your links. And the other one, which kind of looks just like it's snapping, is for removing the link. So to apply a link, it's very similar to how we applied the headings. You will highlight the text you want to apply the link to, click the link icon, type in your URL. So let's say I wanted us to go to the home page. And you can click enter or this blue arrow right here for apply. If there's already a link and you want to edit it, all you have to do is click on the link and it'll bring up this pop-up. then you have two options. You can either remove the link or you can edit it. And so when you click the pencil icon, it'll bring you to this URL editor. You also have another option in this view. When you click the gear, you can edit the URL and the link text in one place. So let's say I wanted to change the link text to hello, and it shows up right there. And then once we're done, once you want to remove a link, again, you select the link like you did when you wanted to edit it, and then hit the remove link icon, and it's gone. The next type of link is called an anchor link. So this is when you want someone to jump to another section on the same page. And so to do that, you first need to create an anchor. So I'm going to create an anchor at the bottom of the page where I say, here's the anchor. I click where I want the anchor to go, scroll back up and find this flag icon up in the toolbar, and it'll bring up an ID. So you can make this ID whatever you want. Just be aware that anyone who clicks on this link will see the ID, so make sure it's something you're comfortable with the public seeing. So I'm just going to do bottom for the bottom of the page and click OK. And then when you want to link to that anchor, it's the same as adding any other link. So you'll select your link text, click the link icon, and add a hashtag or pound symbol, and then whatever that anchor ID was. So in our case, it was bottom. Click apply, and then I will show you how that works. So here's our anchor link, and then it's dropped us to the bottom of the page as much as it could. All right, on to the next thing. I know this is thrilling. On to the next items. You have your increase and decrease indent options. So this is most helpful when you're using the bulleted or numbered lists. Following that, you have a paste as text and clear formatting options. So both of these are used when you're copying text or content from another place, be it another website or a Word doc or Google Doc, whatever. And so the difference between these is paste as text you'll use if you want to get rid of everything when you paste the text, and clear formatting is when you kind of want to retroactively remove the extra formatting from the text. So by extra formatting, I mean any colors or font sizes or things like that. So I'll show you how those work differently. So I have this text that I copied, I think from Berkeley site or something. That's got a lot of color, it's got a lot of different links. So I'll copy it, and in order to paste as text, I will click the paste as text icon, and you'll see it looks like it's a button that's been pushed down. That's how you know it's on. And I'm pasting my content, and it's gotten rid of everything, all the extra flair. And then to show you how it contrasts with the clear formatting, I'm going to deselect paste as text. I'm going to paste, just kidding. I'm just going to highlight the text originally and hit clear formatting, and it got rid of all the colors. So in practice, I like to use the clear formatting option if I want to retain the headers and the links, but if I want to get rid of everything, then I will paste as text. Moving on through the toolbar, just wanted to make a note about text color. Please do not change the text color on the pages. The text colors that are built into the template have been chosen to meet our campus brand expectations and our web accessibility requirements. The next icon is the table. So it's very similar to dropping in a table in Google Docs. You click on the icon, hover over table, and you can select how many rows and columns that you want. If you are creating a new table, you can go ahead and create it, but please submit a ticket after you've done that, because we have to go in and add some code to make sure that the table resizes properly when someone's looking at the table on a desktop or on their phone. So I'll just show you how it drops in the table, and editing content in that table is just the same as you would anywhere else. You just click within the cell and make any changes that you need to make. And I believe, yes, those are all the icons that you guys will be working with regularly. Next, I'll show you how to drop in an image. So to do this, you'll find the Add Media button on the top left. You can click that, and so when you're dropping in images, you have two options. You can either use an image that's already been loaded into the media library, which is what we're looking at right now. And you can just click on that image and you'll know it's selected when it has the blue box around it and insert it onto the page. You also have another option to upload a new image at that time. So you'll click on the Upload Files tab and then the Select Files button, and it will open up your File Explorer on your computer, and you drop it in like you would any other tool. With the image, again, you have to remember to add your alternative text. So to do that, you will select the image, and it'll bring up this little pop-up right here. You click the pencil, and there is this field for alternative text where you'll type in what you want this image to be described as. So this one could be just like student picks up their Cal 1 card or something like that. One funky thing about images is that if you want to center an image on a page, you can't just use this display settings right here, which is a little frustrating. If you want something centered, you have to go to these advanced options, which is in this toggle right here, and add a couple of classes. So the first one is center-image, and the next one is WP-image. So I'll show you what that looks like. Image and WP for WordPress. Update. And then preview. Right, and then we have the image centered right there. And then if you wanted to delete an image, you can just hit the X in that pop-up. The next item is adding a link to a PDF. So this is added the same way as you would a hyperlink I showed you previously. To do that, I usually go back to the Add Media, go to the Media Library, find the PDF I want to add, and then find the Copy URL to Clipboard option. And I click that, and so I can see that it's been copied. And then without inserting it onto the page, I exit out of it. And then I highlight the link text I want to add and paste in the PDF link right there and click Apply. The next item we'll look at is how to make announcements. So within this template, announcements are basically formatting the text so that it's bold and red. So to do that, this is something you'll have to do in the text tab using HTML code. You don't have to memorize this. This will all be in the WordPress editor guide as well for you to reference. So to do this, you'll add the P class. Paragraph class equals announcement, and then close that out. So your content will be in the middle, and then it'll have this HTML code on the outside. So we can preview that. Here we go. We have the announcement. All right. On to the next item. So I'm going to show you the difference between a paragraph and a line break. So a paragraph, basically the difference is a paragraph has a bigger space between two things and a line break has a smaller space. So just by hitting enter, you're creating a paragraph break. And then with this example, I'm going to create a line break by hitting shift, holding shift and hitting enter. And there's our line break. There's just a smaller gap between the two lines. The next item is adding an accordion. So an accordion is let's see. Sorry, I usually have one pulled up right here. Yeah, so the accordions are these gray boxes right here with content that you can collapse. So in order to add an accordion, you need the short code. And to get the short code, you're going to go in the left-hand sidebar and click Materialize Accordions. And you're going to copy this short code that appears in this column right here. So I'm copying it. I'm going to paste it. And we can preview. And the accordion shows up right here with the same content as it would show up on any other page. And I will show you in a moment how to create a new accordion to add if you need it. The last item I have on this pages section is how to look at revisions. So if you scroll down below the WYSIWYG, there's this revision section right here. So you can see who made the edit, how long ago it was, and then there is a link where you can view the changes that have been made. So you can see anything that's been deleted is in red, anything that's been added is in green. And if you want to make it switch back to a previous version, you just hit restore this revision and it will overwrite any content you already have on that page. with the old version. You also have the option to go back farther in time or to the most recent. So I'm not going to make any changes. I'm just going to go click this go to editor option to go back to where we were. Excuse me. All right, that is it for pages. I'm going to move on to events. So we're going to open up the events option. It's very similar to pages. There's just a couple extra things, which is this event info block on the right-hand side. So you have a start date and an end date option you can add, and then an event venue, which you type in. It doesn't auto-populate for locations for you, unfortunately. When you're adding event venues, my recommendation here is to make sure you spell out the venue to the best of your ability, especially if you're working with new students or the public. So for example, something's happening at the RSF, it's probably best to write out the recreational sports facility. That is it for events. It's the same deal with pages. You can preview, you publish, you're good to go. The next item is staff pages. So if you have any staff pages, they would show up here, but Cal1 Card does not. So I'm going to add a new one. Again, it's the same as the pages. And then there's an option for the featured image. You can upload a headshot of the person if you'd like. See, and the last item is ESS grid posts. So let's see, I think these are on the home page. Yes, so these tiles here are called ESS grid posts. And so you can edit those the same as you would a page in this ESS grid post or central grid post section of the editor. Let's see, I think that's everything. Let me see. I think orientation might have one. Nope. Bear with me for one moment. The student coordinators, I think they use this. Yeah. So this is how an implementation of a staff page, but they're using it for their students. Okay. All right. Yes, sorry, accordions. Next, I'll show you how to do the accordions. Let's see. So you have, when you want to add a new accordion, you can go 2 routes for this. There's an add new button next to the title, or also in the sidebar menu, there is add new. So we'll click that. And it looks a little bit different than the pages. First to note is the title. The title is for internal purposes only, so make sure it's something you're familiar with. But we also need to make sure that the title is hidden. So you need to make sure that this hide title button has been clicked. Then when you're adding the accordion content, this area would be your title right here, and then this would be all of your content. If you want to add a new accordion section, you'll find this green button at the bottom, and I'll add a new accordion for you. If you want to reorder the accordions, you'll just need to move your cursor around each block, which represents each kind of like gray. I'll show you these like gray blocks on the accordions. You'll hover it until you see the crosshairs, and the crosshairs will appear when there's not anything to click on or type in. And once you see the crosshairs, you'll click and you'll drag the accordion and it'll reorder them for you. And the last item is if you want to delete an accordion, each of these have a delete section button, and it's as simple as that, and that accordion is gone, or that section is gone. And then when you're good to go, you can copy the shortcode and paste it in like I showed you previously, and hit publish, and you're good to go. And I believe that is everything on that. That is all of the demo. Do we have any questions? Because that is the end of the training. Sorry. And if you guys have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. If this is really boring, let me know. Just submit it all through this Google form. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, so with that, we get 25 minutes of your day back, and I will release you all. Thanks for listening.
Avery, I do have one quick question, if I may. When will we get the login information that we need, or is it the pre-existing login information that we already have?
You should get the login information from whoever's working on your website. So what department are you with?
Residential life.
Residential life. Okay, I think then you'd work with Melanie, I believe, and then she would help you get set up with that. Okay, Joan, do you have any specific questions, or I could walk through it with you over specific things individually at another time if you'd like. I will drop my email in the chat as well if you have follow-up questions. Great. Okay, yes, and yeah. Yep, yeah, I will share out the recording, and yep, feel free to email me if you have any questions. So I guess we'll call it a day. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.